Hello, 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 an awesome morning or awesome day to you all. I hope you're having an awesome week so far. Welcome. I thank you for joining me now or later for your midweek awesomeness. This is What's Your Story, where we share, empower, heal and inspire. Sorry. I have another great guest with me again this week. Um, and also, What's Your Story is brought to you by Kids Love Money. They just don't understand it. It's an interactive workbook that teaches kids the basics about money. It is available on kidslovemoney.shop. There are also flashcards that go with that book as well. And in September, the next book in the series will be dropping is the Savings Edition. So be on the lookout for that as well. And also, What's Your Story is brought to you by Say Something, which is an online store where you can find custom apparel and more that will inspire and empower you to unapologetically and creatively say something. And you can check that out at saysomething.company.site. Again, I'm your awesome host for your midweek awesomeness, Shanrika Crawford Benjamin. And when I come back, I'm going to bring on my beautiful guest, Angela Stribling, who will be the council woman, formally will be councilwoman for Swissvale. But hold tight, we'll be right back. And welcome back. Welcome back. And let me bring on my beautiful guest so she can give you all the scoop of how it's going down. Hi, awesome day. Beautiful.
Hi,
how are you?
Morning. Good bright morning.
Yes. I know it's early for you. It is. And I appreciate you, giving me your morning, some of your morning.
I'm blessed to be on. It's a blessing.
Okay, and again, her name is Angela Stribling. For contact, her contact information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So if you want to reach out to her, or for any reason, which you will see why you may need to reach out to her, get this information, write it down, remember it, or come back on the replay and catch it later. But I am not going to hold you all up. I'm going to let my beautiful guest speak and give us her story. So, Angela, what's your story?
Well, first of all, I guess I want to start out the reason why you've invited me, because I am the Democratic nominee for Councilwoman for Swissvale Borough in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. To give you a little backdrop of actually who I am, I'm also a deaconess, an author, and motivational speaker. My first book is Embracing Calvary from Pain to Purpose. It's still available on Amazon for anybody who's interested in reading a great story of overcoming grief, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder from me losing my dad and my brother within 2 months. And that story took me from Pittsburgh to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is how Shanrika and I met. But I went through a lot of grief, and it could have cost me my life, but God is a healer.
Amen.
And when he took me on that journey, I had no idea that any of this would be for what it has now been birthed into. So, going back to Pittsburgh, God laid on my heart to birth this book. And I became a deaconess at my church, and I've been in ministry all this time since I've been back in Pittsburgh since 2014, working in the community, head of my women's ministry at church. And as I birthed my book in December 2018, I was going around speaking, sharing, the blessings of healing, how God healed my broken heart and my mind, because Satan wanted to steal my mind. But when I was in my journey, I knew God gave me vision of the plans that he had. And you just gotta, continue to seek him and, let him direct your path, because I am nothing without him. You know what I mean? So, as the end of, and another situation happened 2019, early on, another injury happened, but I'll discuss that because that's in book 2. So I won't go
Okay.
into too much detail. But
Stay
because
tuned.
of that, that slowed me down again. So
Mm-hmm.
I was doing my ministry, but slowly but surely I was tired and I
Yeah.
was weary. You know what I mean? And so here we come, February of 2020, and
Mm-hmm.
then this pandemic hit.
Pandemic. Yes.
And, it just rocked the core of all of our existence. And I'm still believing on faith that God will heal the land.
Amen.
But my son is like, who was he's big in politics, big in CNN. He was like, Mom, this is real. This is something serious. And eventually, you know what I mean? My job, we, transitioned to home.
Right.
And God is so intentional because
Mm.
I asked God, you know what I mean? I still seen people moving and doing their community stuff. God told me to be still and
Mm-hmm.
observe. And that's what I did. After I would get off work, I would just watch the news and just see all the madness that was going on, all the negativity that was going on in the world. And I'm
Right.
like, Lord, really? Like, this is really what leadership looks like,
Mm.
And then the George Floyd situation happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, wow, it was just devastating to just feel that every day
Yes.
in your spirit, every day, dealing with that negativity every day.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that, still locally, a lot of the older people who were on the working the polls, etc., because of COVID, they were afraid, and I was afraid to go out too. I wasn't doing anything but
Right.
going grocery shopping and bringing my behind back home
Right.
like I had sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I still wanted to do something, so I had signed up to work the polls for November because I'm like, look here, we got to get that person out. You know what I mean? And if there's anything I can do to contribute to being a part of that process to get that person out, then I'm there. I have to. I cannot allow this to be, you know what I mean? And then even on social media, the fighting between the two worlds were just amazing. And I'm,
Right.
fighting for I guess I would say I was fighting
Hour.
for freedom, where everybody else was fighting for, whatever they felt. So,
Yeah.
and then my son, he too wanted to get involved. So he actually signed up as well to try to run to work the polls. So
Mm-hmm.
once he got the call before I did, I had signed up before him. But he told him that my mother was interested as well. So November, we broke the polls. He was the judge of elections, and it was a blessing to be able to swear him in. And I was the minority inspector, and that was a good day. And the emotions were so high because we didn't know what was going to happen
Right.
come November. Come January, and so God got the glory, and
Amen.
things
Yes.
started to change, and we got this new leadership in office, and I was okay with that. You know what I mean? Just doing that small work because I'm still protecting myself, making sure I'm safe, and keeping my family
Right.
safe.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until maybe February, my son sent me a link to actually run, how to run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's oftentimes, we as people don't know how to it's not necessarily don't want to do it, but we don't know how to do it.
Right.
And so there was a Zoom meeting that it actually in the world that I really was out in, which is Swissvale, on actually how to run for office. And I prayed on it, and I'm like, God, really? Because I got comfortable in the house. Let me just go back there. From me running, I was running from 2014 to 2019.
Right.
Until I got sick. Then I still was trying to run, but I was running with a broken wing. But I was still running because I was on fire for God,
Yes.
And
Yes.
then from COVID, I had gotten so comfortable being in the house, like, oh, I like this.
Right.
And I'm like, do you really want me to get back out here? And he said, yes. And I still, just gave it all to him. You know what I mean? He's the reason why I'm doing it. And if this is for him, I'm doing it for his brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
my son and I decided to run. Again, there was 4 seats. And unfortunately, my son didn't win. But, God chose me and the people chose me because I have a passion for people I serve. My whole life is a testimony of serving
Yes.
people.
Yes.
So definitely he knows that whatever I'm going to do with compassion. And I'm going to do with the people in mind, because this is not about me. I'm already doing the work that I have the passion for. You know what I mean? This is
Right. Yeah.
now important of us making the decisions and getting to those tables that make the decision that truly impact the people. Because if not, that
Right.
other side is running rampant, and they're
Mhm.
just like, they have no filter, they have no care, they have no concern for the true meaning of the people. The people are the government. It's not the other way around.
Right. Right.
So that's why I got involved. And we just got one more vote to go through in November. And
Mhm.
so once that's over, whatever God opens the door for, he's definitely equipped me. And I'm gracious and humbled that he even considered me, because it was something that, watching that on the news every day and just the emotions of it. And I can't idly sit back and just let somebody else make the decisions that's going to not only affect my kids and my grandkids, but
Right.
everybody else's kids,
Everyone. Right.
So
Mhm. Yeah.
if not me, then who?
Exactly. And and there's something, because they say, if you see a problem and it bothers you, that means you're supposed to solve it.
You're supposed to
So,
act on it, or
right.
try
Well,
to
try to solve
yeah,
it,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, instead of a lot of times we see stuff like, we just complain about it. But
and that
you jumped out there and you was like, you know what?
I
I'm
was
getting out here
like,
and I
what?
ain't taking no for an answer.
Yeah,
And this
yeah,
is what it is. And God
yeah,
has ordained it. And hey,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
about to happen,
And trust
And I
me,
was like, I was like, what?
it
You
wasn't on
know.
my radar. But when I sit back in retrospect,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can see why he did it. You know what I mean? Because my son and I, we were involved in activism like when his high school was closing,
Mm-hmm.
and he was going into maybe the 10th or 11th grade. He and his group of friends, they organized to try to stop that, and he had me leaving work, going down, marching in front of the school board. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then we volunteered to work the Obama campaign. So he and I are like into what the current events is, when it's
Right. Yep.
happening
You've
in the
been doing
community
it.
or in the world. We're what I mean, definitely open and exposing ourselves and getting the knowledge and questioning, because you
Yeah,
have to learn how to question
you
the
do.
powers that be. If you can't question it, then you don't think there's a problem.
Exactly, exactly. And yeah, I mean, well, he chose the right person, and because you've always, been a person of good character.
Well,
We've
thank
been
you.
knowing each other for
I
a while.
try.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
try.
we all try, but
We all
but you
fall
have,
short. Yeah, and I know in this
and you
position, I'm gonna, make the mistakes, but that's all part of the learning
that's
process.
that's
I'm
part
gonna
of
make the
being human.
mistakes. I'm going to learn, but ultimately, if I keep him at the center of everything I do, it's gonna be for his glory. And I
Absolutely.
ask myself, what I mean, why would I do this? Because some people have motive as to why. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, being in politics is not an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I see it. I've seen it already here. And I'm like, it's so petty.
Right.
But, you have to block people out, know who you are, know
Mm-hmm.
where you stand, and don't allow that to move you. You know what I mean? And
Right.
when you see negative stuff coming up against you, you know you're doing something right. So
Absolutely.
I definitely was grateful of looking at the positive people, like the Keisha Les Bottoms and the Stacey Abrams and
Right.
Reverend Raphael Warnock, like seeing them go to war for Georgia and
Mm-hmm.
actually truly
Yes.
making the difference and flipping that state. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
if it's in them, it's definitely in me too.
Yes.
And I
Absolutely.
definitely study them. And, I read up on them, and I just because you have to. I mean, and I have people here. You know what I mean? I come as one, but
Yeah.
I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. So
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
definitely have people who are, behind me and willing to support me, and wise counsel.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
seek
That's important.
wise counsel.
Right.
I'm not asking information from anybody, because
Mm-hmm.
people, Satan will definitely bring people to you to stir you the wrong way. But when
Mm-hmm.
you seek him, and he'll seek you to tell you who to go to get you know,
what you need.
what you need, and that's what I'm doing now. So
Well, I'm happy for that. Even though I'm not in Pennsylvania, but you know, I'm still happy. You know, it's good to know that, you know, good people, because you have to put yourself in a position if you want to change something. Because she's been active in her, you know, you've been active in your community, and you see the issues, and you're like, okay, only way it's going to get, you know, solved, or
right,
you know, is if I step in and do something.
right,
So you put
right,
yourself in the position to empower other people. And
right,
I don't know.
right.
So I mean, and that's what you have to do. You have to, like I said, get at those tables, get a seat at those tables that make these
Exactly,
decisions that, you know,
exactly.
affect your family, your, you know, your
The
lineage, might as well
community,
say,
yeah, the whole
everybody.
community. You know what I mean? And um, that's been the problem historically. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Of trying to keep us out of those tables and keep us out of those seats so that our
Right.
voices aren't heard, you know, but you have to know how to find that voice. And if
Right.
you don't try, you don't ever know what could happen. I would have
Yeah.
never thought, because if I would have been, and that's why God is so intentional, because had I
Hmm.
continued to be ripping and running like I was before,
You wouldn't have
I
gave it a second of thought. Mm,
I would have never knew what the next part of my purpose was.
yeah.
And that's
That's
the beauty
awesome.
of him. That's the beauty
Yeah.
of him.
Oh
That's
yeah.
the beauty of him. Because as
Yes.
he was doing what it did, that was part of it, but that was ended. And then he's like, okay, so I'm pleased with you there. I'm gonna let you take this up a notch, because he knows if he trusted me with that, he goes definitely trust me with this, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in this for nothing but him.
Right.
Understand?
Right.
And his
Yes.
people.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows I don't, you know, so I'm just excited to see what happens from here, where it leads, where it takes me, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because in my mind, it he you
You
know,
just don't know what to.
9/11,
Hey,
he
you
knows
know,
the plans. I don't even try to, you know what I mean? I don't even
figure
try
out what
to
that may look like.
overthink it. I
Mm-hmm.
accept the next step he gives, and I wait to see why he's chosen me for that, because he normally always reveals it. So,
Yeah, that's the awesome thing about God, man.
hmm.
Okay, so I do have to ask you this. I know you have an LLC, G Strip LLC. What is that, and how did you come
That
about
was
that?
for my motivational speaking and the book.
Mm-hmm.
And God will, and slowly but surely, be revealing some other stuff that is going to be coming under that umbrella. I also
Mm-hmm.
have the Meet the Author series, where
Yes.
I am now showcasing authors to discuss their books and the reason behind them writing their stories. And I mean, I think it's a great tool, because authors
Yes.
have it's a hard time, because now everybody's writing books, everybody's telling their stories, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that is
That is,
magnificent.
yeah, that is.
Because look, had it not been for what I've been through, it couldn't have shaped me for where he was taking me. You understand?
Absolutely.
And if
Yeah.
you are afraid to tell it, he's not going to use you.
No,
Period.
you're right. You're not,
And
he's
he gave
not,
me
you
that
know.
story to share with the world his goodness of how,
Mm-hmm.
look at what she went through, but look at what she overcame, but look where I got her now.
Right. What is
It's
that?
his
The
story. Look
how it
what
was going now, how it's going now.
where it was and how it's going now.
That's
So
it.
if you
Yeah.
don't
So
see God in the midst of that, because it ain't nothing special about Angela Stribling.
none of us.
Only thing I see is
None
the
of us.
God I serve. That's it. I don't give myself the credit. I give him all the glory. I mean, I've done the necessary work. Yeah, I've got the education. I've had the experience. I've done the work. But ultimately, if you don't keep him there,
Yeah.
you're going to get to where you're supposed to get to, but then you're going to hit a brick wall.
Get
If
stuck.
you open
Right.
yourself up to the possibilities that God has, he's limitless. There's no
It
limits
is.
to the things he can do for you. And he gives you the desires of your heart. So somewhere down the line, that was desire of my heart. And it's funny,
Right.
because he sometimes gives you what you want after the fact. You realize I didn't really ask for that. But he
Right.
once he gave it to me, it would be something that he knew I would be able to
To take
definitely
on and
respect,
to
because
excel at.
it was
Yeah.
so contrary to what I was doing. So because I knew it was contrary to what I was doing, it couldn't have been nobody but him to open
Oh
the
yeah.
door. You
Oh
know
yeah.
what I mean? So when he opens the door, then I'm definitely going to have to go in with him totally, because the work is going to be, it's not going to be a cakewalk, but he
Mm-hmm.
knows it's up, keep him in front, then it won't
He'll
be no
take care
problem.
of
I
everything.
was just looking at some stuff last night. It was one quote I said, when there is no enemy within, the enemies outside can't hurt you.
Right. Well,
So
that's
the
true.
greater is he that is in me
Than
than
he
he
that is
is in
out
the world.
here. Yeah. And that's so true, because a lot of times it's not even the enemy outside that's, bugging us, is
It's the
within
enemy
that
internally.
that we, have to deal with. And a lot of times, like you said, telling the story, I was speaking with my grandmother because she, has went through some surgeries and she's not,
Mm-hmm.
how she used to be. So she's kind of, down. And I'm like, and she was like, I'm just tired of dealing with this. I'm ready to go. I said, well, you ain't going nowhere till you're ready. So you might as well get yourself together. It's
I used to say
you
that to
went
my
through
dad all the time.
what you went
Like,
through so you can help somebody.
yeah, my dad would get so upset every time, like one of his buddies would, and I get it, one of his
Yeah.
buddies, because then that would question his immortality. My dad
Yeah.
lived to be 92, and I'd be like, we
Uh,
all have our time.
yeah.
So the thing is, it ain't when you're going, because we all got to take that day. We all
Yeah.
got to date,
We
but
going.
where are you going? That's
Right.
the question you better be asking yourself. Where are
Right.
you trying to go?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody in that casket ain't going where they want to be if they don't take the time now to do what they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And going back to your show, because I had the pleasure of being on your show, Meet the
Yes,
Author.
see?
How did you come up with that concept, or what made
Oh
you?
God, I was going to release. I was going to like put it out there January of 2021. That was the plan, and then I guess that was 2 months behind. But a dear friend of mine, the end of December, was tragically killed. I mean, and
Oh,
we were just platonic friends, and it hurt me. Like, you know what I mean? So I had to, get it together, but I knew in the back of my mind that was what God had for the next part, since we were stuck in the house, you know what I mean? And so I just pushed it out after I decided that I was going to run, because this part of the author thing, that's my passion. You know what I mean? That's the stuff
right,
I want
right.
to do. And God's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if you got to do this for me, then I'll let you do that. So that's kind of how he works it for me. But
Mm-hmm.
it's blossoming into such a great platform. You know what I mean? Because it allows people to just be exposed and share their story. Because sometimes
Yeah.
them can sit still. You know what I mean? If you're not actually working them and moving them, you know what I mean? I was traveling all over the place before COVID,
Mm-hmm.
sharing my story. You know what I mean? And if you just touch one person, then that's all you need.
That's right. That's enough.
But the stories are birthed, and I think it's important to just let people have a platform to just say what they have to say, and everybody might not bite on it, and that's okay. But
Right.
as long as they've gotten their word out, then that's what's most important, and
Yeah.
whatever their purpose is for writing that story, because we all have a purpose.
Right. And I always say, you can't worry about who's not listening or who won't do. You have to, concern yourself with those who do hear you, or
Right,
and those who are doing. Don't
right,
focus on, oh, it ain't, they're not doing this or they're not doing that. That's why I say, I support people even if I don't get the support back, because if I,
right.
believe, because I
And
do
we
have to get
talked
your
about
book.
that. We
Yeah,
talked
you
about that.
you just, I
It
mean,
comes when you plant a seed, it comes back.
but not just that, it ain't gonna hurt you. It's not hurting you to or put other people on your show, other authors. That's helping, because it's somebody sitting somewhere who is going through a situation one of your authors have been through, and they don't know how they're gonna make it. So if they see this, I'm
Mhm.
saying, this may come at just the right, this might save a life. It's that
Totally,
serious. People don't
totally,
think about it,
and
but
you are absolutely right. It's that deep. It's really
yeah.
that deep. Yep, it's really that deep, because when
So
people read my story and they look at me and they come back and they like, really? You really went through all of that? Like, I really went through all of that. Like, it's only by God's grace that I'm here, because
yeah.
that pain that I suffered,
Yeah.
I would have been happy with ending it because the pain was so severe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But God had better plans. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you. Yes. Amen
You
to
know what I
that.
mean? And I'm here now, and
The world needs you. You have work to do.
yes, yes, but he has to crush you. He has to break you
Right.
in order for
Right.
you to, you know what I mean, humble yourself and get you out of the picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it'll be Angie, Angie, Angie. But no, he knows what he brought me out of. I will
Mm-hmm.
not ever not talk about him. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
he gave me a new lease on life.
Yeah. Okay. And also you were able to meet, I know um I don't know what I want to call her,
Let
but
me explain
your
Shiro.
shero. I couldn't think of the word, but your shero is Angela Davis, and you got to meet
Yes.
her. So how did you get to meet her, and how was that
Well, let
whole?
me explain. In COVID, you know, being still, just and here's what I recommend people do:
Mhm.
go back and find about the history of you. So I took myself all the way back to when I was in the womb.
Mhm.
And in the womb, I was born August 22nd, 1968. Martin Luther King died what, August 5th,
Yeah,
1968?
I believe.
1966, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
I thought about how my mother in her womb
Mhm.
had to be enduring what happened to him. And I'm not even birthed yet, but those 2 weeks
Mhm.
before him, after him
We're
dying, and
emotional.
me being born, can you? The world was in an uproar, and
Yes,
thinking, I was in her womb
at
at
the
the
time.
time. So God is intentional. You
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying? So
Yes.
as a young adult, you know, my older sister, she was a reader.
Mhm.
I would get the books that she brought from school or wherever, and
Yeah,
uh,
read those.
I would read those books, but they were really books that were older than me, like you know the Toni Morrison, The Bluest Eye, and
Yeah.
all
Okay.
those stories, and Elaine Brown, and then you know Angela Davis, and I'm like, who's this woman that has my name? You know what I mean? And then I asked my mom, I was like, well, where did I get my name from? She told me my cousin named it, and you know what I mean? Who's going to name you Angela in 1968 if you're not
Right.
named after Angela
Somebody
Davis?
in the family, right?
You know
Or
what I
somebody in the
mean?
family, right?
Somebody, if it ain't somebody in the family. And so coming out of the grief and depression that I endured, and then a few months, I probably was in Pittsburgh, maybe a year, maybe, and
Mhm.
she was coming to this event.
Mm.
I said, look at God. Had I took my life, I would have not been able to meet her. But
Mm.
not only meet her, I set my seat, and I got home when I realized she was coming. I
Mhm.
went home and I was working 2 jobs at the time, so I got in around midnight. I ordered my ticket, and you know, based on the arena, it was the auditorium is small. But when
Mhm.
I get there, Sharika, God has me sitting front row,
Wow.
looking. I'm
Direct.
sending my oldest son the pictures. I'm like, Quan, I'm right here. So when she comes out, I'm literally sitting at her feet.
Wow.
And after it was over, I had my book
Uh-huh.
that she wrote. So she was selling books, but I had brought my book and she was signing books. And I'm sitting in that line
Mhm.
like, I can't believe he is going to let me meet my hero before everything else had even happened. Like,
Wow.
you know what I mean? The book hadn't started. He brought her first. And
Yes.
when I got up to her and I said my name, she said, "Hi, what's your name?" And I said Angela, and she smiled. And I said, God has birthed for me to do some work in the community about grief. And she said, that's a hard subject. She said, but you got to do the work. She said, even if you don't finish it, you got to
Sorry.
start it.
Mhm.
And the girl took my phone And when I tell you this woman, and she's in her 70s, she grabbed my hand so tight. I say to people, it was like she was transferring her power. It
Mm.
was because the picture that I always post, she got me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She got me. She got me. And
Right.
we took the picture, and I went into the bathroom, and I tell you,
Mm.
I was so emotional, but it's so crazy. But God knew, and I mean, with me, He sends people to me. And as I'm in the bathroom crying, this little Caucasian girl, but it was an angel. She comes up to me
Hmm.
and she said, "Yeah, I saw you in the auditorium. I seen your excitement." And I was like, "That was my hero." And she's just rubbing my back, and she let me. And she said, "Ain't God amazing?" I
Wow.
said, "Man." And she and I shared that moment together, but I knew this woman, God was like letting me know, "Over
Yes.
here. Okay."
Mm. Yes, yes. And you have been. You
Mm,
have been. And he's taking you
mm,
higher and higher. And
woo. That
yeah.
was that was that
That was,
was that was powerful for me.
yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I just stay in my lane.
Yeah.
I just stay in my lane.
Yeah. Well, I thank God. I thank God for you. I thank God
Mhm.
for your obedience because
Yes. Yes.
you are what the people have been waiting for.
And he
So
knows I'm going to give him my all
yes, yes.
for the people.
Well, yes, for
Well,
other
you ain't
people.
supposed to have me cry.
I know. Look, I'm trying to look. I'm trying to keep myself from, my eyes from leaking. I'm like,
But that
okay,
was just, you know what I
but
mean? And I had to put that in the book because that was profound. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I had to put that in the book because that was profound.
And I
And
guess he was
go
kind of
ahead.
opening the door, just letting you know, hey, look at, what I'm saying, look at all this great stuff that's about to come for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because who gets to meet their hero? Like, just
Your namesake.
yeah, your
Who gets to
namesake. I
meet them?
mean, yeah. So that was it was meant for you to meet her, and and that's crazy because you said she great, and I could just to me it's like, and that's what I thought about, like her transferring her power, her strength. You know what I'm saying? Like over to you, because energy is
Woo!
real.
Energy is real. Energy is
So
real. It is. It's
yeah,
real. Yep, it's
okay.
real.
But
So,
any last words for the people? I know we done went over 30 minutes.
well, I just look forward to being a servant, as I always have
Yeah.
for God's people. Um, I'm humble and grateful, once He completely brings this to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And He knows that I'm definitely going to seek Him and make sure that I keep Him. And in the words of Winston Churchill, this is the last one, my whole
Mm-hmm.
life has prepared me for this very hour.
Yes, amen. It has. And this is again, y'all, Angela Stribling. Her information is on the bottom of the screen. So you want to reach out to her if you are an author, because I am, and just to make this announcement right now, because I have been in some of you people's inbox, but I'm gonna be in some more of you people's inbox because go on her show, meet the author, and tell your story. I'll
Yes,
probably
I
have you
look
on
forward to
here.
it.
I'll
And
probably
I
have,
thank you for bringing the people because
yeah.
I mean, when you want God to expand your territory, and that's what He's doing. So I'm just
Yeah,
grateful for that.
yeah. So
Yeah. And I'm
reach
blessed,
out to
we're
her.
blessed to work together. I'm grateful that God brought us back together.
Yes.
Because there's 7 billion people in the world. I was reading something the other day. It's not, it's your people in your community, but we can reach the
We
masses.
can. The technology has made it to where we can. I mean, and it's crazy because we worked together, what, like maybe 10 or whatever years
Yeah,
ago. And
yeah.
we've always been in, touch. And it's, we work with a lot of people, but it's only been a few of us that's always
And that was the
stayed
people who were
connected,
supposed to stay.
who was supposed to stay. Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Well,
it's been a pleasure.
yes, ma'am. I'm going to put you in the back and wrap this up, and I'll be right back with you. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, wonderful people. Thank you for your time. I pray that you found value, not just in this show, but the rest of them. But yeah, reach out to Angela if if you've written a book. She has a show every week that's called Meet the Author. She'd love to have you on there. And like I said, I've been in some of some of your inboxes, and I'm going to be in some more inboxes. So don't worry, I'm coming. Even if you own this show talking about whatever, your book or whatever, you can still be on her show. Because guess what? She know people I don't know, and I know people she doesn't know. So, it's all love. It's enough people in the world, 7 billion plus people. So, get your story out there. But again, thank you for joining us, whether you're live or you're going to be on the replay. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. This has been another week of What's Your Story. Join me again next Wednesday at 10 a.m. I am having Brittany Thomas. If you don't know her, you will know her then. But thank you again. This has been What's Your Story? I am your awesome host, Shanrika Crawford Benjamin. And you guys have an awesome rest of your week.